This is where we left off last time, and we had these hyperlinks, so they work, but they don't look right. So we want them to look like this. So that's our next challenge. So let's bring up Sublime, and so what we have to format now is the anchor tags because the links are there, they work, but they're not formatted correctly. So our next thing we want to do is we want to say that in our nav, um, and actually we can do ULLIA, so that targets that specific anchor tag, although we don't have any other ones in our nav. Alright, so how do we format that? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to display this as a block. And we're doing that because the anchor tag, remember, is an inline elements. So when we save that and file save, whoops, when we save that and then review it, we can see that when we refresh, nothing happens. All right, because we didn't really do anything. We made them into block elements, but that's only going to allow us to be able to further format them. So let's go back and take a look at what we have left. Okay, the other thing we want to do is right now it is they're underlined in blue and then it'll turn purple once we've selected them. So the next thing we want to do is we want to do text decoration and none. And so we can see them better, we're going to make them white. Okay, now we can see something's been done. So let's do file save. And then let's go back and refresh. Alright, so now they're white. Now we want to get them all separated. So we have to put some padding in there. So let's go back and take a look. Go back to our... Alright, so the next thing you want to do is add some padding. And remember, padding has 4 different attributes: top, right, bottom, left. So what we want to do is we want the top and bottom to be not quite as far as the left and right. So let's just try a 10 pixel top and bottom and a 25 pixel left and right. Alright, let's do file and save and then refresh. Nice. Alright, so these are looking a little bit better. Right, that's how it looks there, and this is how it looks here. So they're looking a little bit more. We're gonna move that home over. Alright, so why is that home not looking right? Why is it pushed all the way over there? If we take a look at our navigation section and then look at the UL, look where that UL is. That UL has, so when I move a mouse away, it's going to go away. But see that green box at the top? That's showing you that there's extra padding, about 10 pixel padding on the left-hand side. So what we want to do is we want to change that, and that will move the home over. If we bring it down to 0, it'll be too close to the left wall. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and make that UL about 5 pixels and see how that looks. Alright, so let's go ahead and get out of here. Go back to our Sublime. And here's the UL. And what we want to do is change the padding. Oops, not pad king, padding. Oops, but we don't want all of it. We just want the padding left. And we'll make that just 5 pixels. Okay, and we'll file and save. And we'll go back and refresh. Okay, see that moved over. So the 5 pixels is enough. It looks pretty much like the Trident Tech has. So that's good. But we're missing the lines in between each one of these. So we want to go ahead and get that next. And how we get that is, if you remember in the lesson that we had, that there's another, there's something called box shadow. And a box shadow allows us to make it look like it's 3D coming off the page. Here we don't want that. Here we just want to have it a line, and make a line on the right hand side. So let's go ahead and make a box shadow. And what we're going to do is, instead of making an outline, which would be outside the box, we're going to make it inset. That's going to make it inside the box. And then we're going to do a -1. And that means it's going to be on the right hand side. So if it was 1 pixel, it would be on the left hand side. -1 pixel will be on the right hand side. And then 0 pixels for the top and the bottom. And then what color? White would be too stark, so let's make it a gray. And see how that looks. Alright, so again, box shadow, would put a box or a shadow around. A lot of times we use it outline, and we'll do the right and the bottom. And that will make it look as if it's a 3D image, put a shadow in behind it. Well, this one is a shadow inside it, so that's what that is. And we're not going to have two bottom and left, or top and right. We're going to do, this one is going to be the right hand side because it's -1, and that means nothing on the top and the bottom. So let's go ahead and save this and see how it looks. File and save. Okay, and then we shall refresh. Nice. Alright, so this is how the Trident Tech one looks. This is how ours looks. Ours a little bit bigger. That's about it. Alright, but it still doesn't look the same. See how that is? It's kind of a, well, I don't want to go over it, but see how that it's light on top and dark on the bottom? That also is a box shadow. So we're going to also take a look at doing something with that. Alright, but that's not going to be the UL because we don't want each one to have it. Because notice it's over here too, and there's nothing over here. This is actually a property of the nav segment. So we have a black background color of black, but what we'd like to have is a little tiny little white up here, as if there's a light coming from the top of the page, and it's hitting the top of that and then doesn't get much of the bottom. So how can we do that? One thing we can do is there's a tool we can use for that. And it is on CSS-matic. So let me go ahead and put that in. And new tab. And CSS-matic and then box shadow. This is a great tool, making it easy for you to determine all the different parts of that. So here is, it shows a box and it has a box shadow on it. So this is the box shadow we're used to having down here. And the nice thing is it's going to go ahead and write our HTML CSS for us. I mean, all our little specs. So this is what it looks like now, and it has a bottom gray box to it. And it also has, if we went off to the side, you can see it has one on the right side. So we don't want it on the top and the bottom. So let's go ahead and change this to 0. And you can see that we only have it now on the bottom. There's nothing on the right. Alright, so this right here, instead of being 10, we want this on the top. So we'll make that a -10. And there it goes on the top. But notice it's outside, it's also outside the line. Okay, so let's go down and change that property. Okay, we want it actually, instead of being outline, which is outside the box, we want this inset. There it goes. Alright, but it dropped down to the bottom. Alright, so it's the opposite. And then let's go ahead and change our colors. Alright, so 10 pixels inset is top. -10 would be the bottom. So right now we have this color here, and we really want it to be a black. There we go. Alright, so that's good. And then our shadow color, we'd like to have that as like a grayish color. So let's see, it's like a purple. It's like a gray, maybe a little bit darker. Darker still. Darker still. Like that. Let's see. Darker still. Darker still. Okay, that looks a little bit like how Trident Tech has it. Sort of like that. So let's take a look at Trident Tech. Oh, that's not it. Trident Tech, there it is. Alright, so the only thing that we have to also change is the blur, because it's right up there on top. So let's go ahead and grab this bar here and see that blurs it down. So the color here, let's make this color a little bit lighter. Like that. And then let's blur it again. And let's make it right about there. Okay, that looks pretty much like, maybe a little bit more. Come on now. There you go. The blur radius. Alright, so that's the settings. So now all we have to do is go over here and copy this box here. And we copy this. And we go back to our CSS. Okay, so remember this one has to do with not the A, but the actual nav itself, because we have background color straight black. And what we want to do is we want to change that by pasting in our what we've created over in the other thing. And then go ahead and straighten this up, make it look pretty. Okay. So 0 pixels means it's going to be not on the left and right. The 10 means it's going to be on the top, whereas -10 would be on the bottom. The 29 pixel is the blur that's spreading it on the top. 0 pixels is another one. Which one is that? That's I always forget all the settings. That last one is the spread radius. So it's 0 pixels now. If we increase that spread, it would actually start spreading. It would spread on all the sides. We don't want that. We just want the top. So that's why that is 0. So let's go back. Okay, and that's with 0. And then this is the color, the gray color that we wanted. I like using that box because then I can see the colors a little easier than trying to just mess around with the numbers. Well, let's see if this works. And we'll do File and Save. And then we'll go back and take a look at our page. Here's Trident Tech. So we want it to look like this, and it looks like this, and we'll refresh. Sweet. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, there's Trident Tech's, and there is ours. So looking pretty good. Theirs is a little bit smaller because I had to make the window smaller, but other than that, it's looking pretty good. All right, that's it for this lesson.